Welcome back, everyone, to theCUBE's live coverage here in San Francisco. I'm John Furrier, Dave Vellante, Jackie McGuire, John Olsek, the entire CUBE research team. Of course, SiliconANGLE's team is getting all the news. This is our third day, wrapping up. Wall-to-wall coverage on the impact of AI in the enterprise and overall cybersecurity landscape. We've covered it all, network security all the way now to LLMs, everything in between. The platformization's happening. A lot of people are looking at what's the best approach. We've got two experts here, Prakash and Vinod here. Prakash Venkata, Principal PwC Cyber Risk Regulatory Practice. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Vinod DeSouza, Head of Manufacturing and Industry of Office of the CISO at Google Cloud. Google Cloud, PwC. Guys, I know you're working on a lot of big things. Just been covering both your assignments. I've never seen the security market as, I won't say upside down, because it's not upside down in this classical sense. It's going through material change.
Yeah.
And the problems of data being a key part of it's key. So one, welcome to theCUBE, and I want to get your perspective. PwC, you see all the big transformation projects, security.
Yes.
What is going on? What do you see? Scope the market in security right now.
The market is in an interesting place. Right now, if you look at it, either you're all in or hesitant and trying to figure out, should I wait for it to happen? Okay, the all-in guys are thinking end to end. In the past, they would just jump in and try to play around and figure it out. Now they're starting with what are the controls I need? What are the governance pieces I need? How do I democratize but have control over it? That is a significant change, the way we are looking at the industry and the organizations.
And end-to-end seems to be a winning conversation when we talk about AI, because it's workflows and data,
yes,
well-defined to some degree. That seems to be the magic of AI world now, is that people are seeing that workflows end-to-end, they want the data visibility. Vinod, what's your take on this? I mean, you probably agree.
Yeah, but I think from an AI perspective, I think the word these days is agentic AI, right? I think we are seeing a fundamental shift around how agentic AI being used. We at Google, our vision is around how we can reduce the toil for customers and how we can automate things. I can give a couple of examples. One is we recently announced the agentic AI for security operations and threat intelligence. Within security operations, how do we reduce the human involvement at the point that some of the routine tasks can be leveraged through agents, as well as some of the the decision making can be augmented. That's one example. The other one is malware analysis, and how we can leverage agents to do tons of code that previously needed a lot of manual effort on how they can look through agents and automate for whether the code is harmful or safe to run. So we are seeing a fundamental shift, and some of the use cases we are seeing in the security operations.
It's interesting, when I look at the agent conversation, I want to get to this called practical AI, is what I called it on my research note I published on Sunday, is that there's an appetite for getting in and solving either stuff I'm repeating and then stuff that's kind of just random, predictable things that I can send an agent on. But the two hot areas here I see a lot of action on, I want to also get your reaction to, is cloud security and SOC transformation. Two areas where there's a lot of action. Cloud security, obviously distributed computing, Google Next, we covered that at length. Folks want to watch those videos on YouTube, check it out. But cloud security is still hot and changing. That's not going anywhere, but the SOC roles, the agents fit into those two areas. Guys, thoughts on that piece?
Okay, so agents in the SOC area, that will be the first place where CISOs will see a greatest value. A lot of automation, repeated tasks, correlation, scale, and the immediate value between the alerts, triaging, and how you are going to be analyzing the data points. To triage that one. That is the biggest impact. If you start your journey on agentic AI, I would say definitely look at your SOC. Once you are successful, you can take that into other security domains.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think you probably heard our preview, our announcement at Next. SOC is one of the use case that we are seeing this and using this most of the customer as well. Triage, alert triage, as well as malware analysis to kind of help some of the customers, right? The goal is faster detection and response.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I feel, but first of all, I agree. That's why I brought it up. But there's a lot of layers to peel back because I'm not sure if I feel that's because where the action is, that's where the pain is, that's where the opportunity is. But we know the data volume is massive, right? Yep. So the data becomes a big part of it because they're seeing a lot of data. They also got to look at all the threats. They got to look at what's in their environment. Yep. People are operating on the assumption that adversaries are already in.
Yep.
And then pipelining data. I mean, these are all like, go back 5 years. What was the conversation? Pipelining data to the SOC.
Yep.
So all that comes to bear now.
Yes.
And like all at once.
Yep.
How do you advise customers? Like that's where you come in at PwC. This is what you do.
Yeah. This is where like, again, as you said, like the volume and the scale, automation, and how do you triage to a point where you can actually manage it. And that is the next level we are talking about. Like we talked about SOC, this is coming in. Am I ready to remediate? Can I automate more of that one?
Yeah.
Can I look at my critical assets and like non-critical assets? Something should be so automated, it can be streamlined. We'll just let it pass through. Okay, agentic AI can take care of it, fix it. When it comes to critical application, how do we have human AI hybrid working together without impacting your environment? So those are the things we are talking about to our clients.
We heard a couple of people on theCUBE say things, and back in the old days, hey, I'll throw a honeypot out there, I'll go in there, it'll be fine. Now you're hearing elaborate orchestrations of red team agents, and kind of like decoupled honeypots, just like a series of puzzle pieces. This is real.
Yes.
I mean, can you share, because I think this is a sea change of, I call it the craft of cyber, where the humans are starting to apply their thinking to the mechanisms now available with agents. Can you share, can you enlighten the audience on this? Because I think this is a major trend. We haven't seen this level of sophistication of, not trapping the advanced, but just let them in.
Yeah.
We'll hit them up.
Yep.
We'll get them out quick.
See, that's the thing, like that was the thing. In the old school, it was like the time, we had the time. I mean, like to an extent. Now I do not have the time. I don't have weeks. I don't even have days. In real time, I want to capture what's going on. And I want to analyze how they are going about it. And I want to use that as a threat intelligence so that like, my neighbor is not getting attacked. So those things are shifting so fast. And these things, like just think about it, all you need is like 5% of the human population to think smarter, enable those things out there, and these guys are thinking on their own now. I mean, like the reasoning is happening. So the attack vectors, when they are coming in, and like we can like cordon it off and like pass it on, and like see how they are behaving. But it's going both directions too. Like if you look at it, even on the offense side and the defense side, those advancements are like interesting dynamic.
Vinod, we had another Google interview on, and the word legend came up. When you're a legend, Prakash, you got to keep being a legend, be legendary. This is what you're enabling. I want to talk about how this works, because this is what we're seeing at scale. The enablement you guys have to do at Google's end to kind of make him successful, because he's going to do all this intelligence to protect, and he can't get it wrong. And the agents on the outside are coming in. They can be smarter with machine learning one time. So they can spin up 100 attacks faster, and you could block 99% of them, but still lose one. I mean, so like.
Yeah, but I think I agree with Prakash. I think one of the fundamental thing is, I think you made a point around, we assume that the attacker is already in, and this is where the resiliency concept is in today, right? We hear everywhere cyber resilience. What that means is like assuming that somebody is in, how we can withstand and continue to operate in those situations, and that's where agents and AI tools kind of come in handy. And we are not saying that the human is not in the loop, but we have to keep in the loop, but we're also trying to give the humans the additional horsepower or additional time to work on some of the complex issues where the automation and the agents are taking care of all the things that we used to spend a lot of time, right? So I think that's where you get the volume and the scale and the efficiency.
All right, so you just set the table. We just kind of riffed on the problem. It's massive. There's a lot of opportunities. Let's break down cyber resilience, because the bar is high. CISOs that I talk to who are dealing with this every day, replatforming, they got a large scale data, they got a high bar, but they got to get stuff into production. And that's a huge task. So there's sandboxes spinning up, there's POC purgatory going on, everything's going on, but the road to get into production is narrow because the resilience bar. So Gen AI is leaking, but machine learning's been there. So you've got all kinds. So what's the resilience equation look like? How are people thinking about it as fast as possible? What's What's the state of the art of, and what is it? What is cyber resilience today?
So cyber is ability to withstand an attack, if you look at it, in the simplest words.
Yeah.
Now, how do you withstand it? By scaling your infrastructure, or like thinking smarter, or like stopping something, or monitoring something. Like this is where we talk about understanding their infrastructure and what they are trying to do, how we want to have that architecture enabled in such a way they can withstand, they can come back, or they can back off and think differently. So those are the kind of things we are talking about. This is where the architecture is going to be very distinct. It's not going to be like one size fits all.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of add on to that, right?
Great definition. Thank you.
Yeah, especially within my vertical and customers that I'm dealing with, especially manufacturing critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
The resilience is when, let's say, think about like there is no connectivity, or how do you make sure that these systems are continuing to function, right? Ultimately, CISOs are responsible for business operations. So the resilience part, in my opinion, is about making sure that, how do we make sure the business continue to run when the systems are in the worst stage, like in more deteriorated stage, but we enable them,
I'm glad you brought up manufacturing because a lot of these things is, we've been saying on theCUBE, there's a systems revolution. You heard the podcast, Dave and I riff on this all the time. It's a systems architecture. End-to-end is just one pointer to the fact that if you got to understand the second order, third order effects of decisions, that's a systems thinking mindset. Yes. This isn't buy a tool and we're good, and everyone's got all the tools.
Yep.
So, okay, you got a system architecture. In robotics and physical AI that's here, whether it's a driving car, the data security, the software has to run. You can't rely on someone else's pipelining of data sharing. So you got to have full visibility on the data security. So what's your reaction to that? Because this brings up the argument that you can have an architecture where I can have a fully integrated solution, completely end to end, like a self-driving car. I got the LiDAR. So all these things kind of bring up conventional paradigms that get slaughtered. So, but it's not that way. What's your reaction to that? I'm just kind of putting that out there because we're seeing use cases, certainly in manufacturing. Models are plugging into hardware and changing the precision or the use case. Multi-function manufacturing is coming. One factory, multiple things. That's a software game.
So I think about these manufacturing companies as now, data, software, and AI companies as well. So, from a traditional manufacturing to how companies are going through this industry 4.0 revolution, we are already talking about human-machine collaboration. So my perspective is, we are already living that life. I mean, autonomous cars and other things, right? So absolutely, the data is important, where the data is coming from. I think from a CISO's perspective, governance around all these issues and making sure that the right stakeholders within the business are a part of it. We have the right data, because ultimately you want to trust the data and you want to have the right controls and processes for the to trust the data is available to make the right decision.
So you're talking about data risk. This is a data risk problem set.
Yes.
Would you guys frame it that way?
Yes.
Okay, so what do I do? What's my strategy?
So
PwC, give me a master class.
I'm
Come
going
on.
to make a different analogy here. A lot of things what we do is about our experiences. That is the data we process and put the experiences together. Okay? And then we think on our feet. We are not going back to looking for the data. I'm looking for the experiences. I think that is the mind shift we have to think about it when it comes to this whole
Explain further. This is a good point.
So think about it, you take certain data points, you extract that, you correlate it, you do figure it out whatever you want to do, and say, okay, based on these conditions, this is the kind of decisions I make. Okay? You teach the model, this is how it is. Now that becomes an experience. If little things changes there, is the outcome going to be different? And how different it is? And what guardrails do I have on that one?
So that's an approach to take for agents too, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, every one of those things, it's so interrelated now. You can't do one without the other. We have to think holistically. No siloed methodology at all. I mean, you can have the best data risk, but if you are not thinking about your agents behaving the right way, that's going to be the challenge.
So you're saying flip it around, go human first.
Yes.
Go in and then figure out what data you need, lock it down, or not, that's my word, but secure it.
Secure it, yes.
Making sure that data security is part and parcel of these.
And make that experiences into the experiences.
Yeah. And train the agent.
Yes. Yes.
And to kind of do that, I think you also need to have the visibility of what is important for you, where the data lies, and how do we, like inventorying, right? I think want to make sure that you are looking at the right assets and in the visibility of the data.
I really like that angle on data because it really kind of makes you think, what are we doing it for? And then it also supports the end-to-end workload, which and then end-to-end process, which has data and it's well known. All right, so I have to ask, I want to get your reaction to a comment I heard on theCUBE, first day one, talk about agents. And they're bullish on agents. Person, I won't say their name, you probably figured it out if you watch the videos. But we were talking and it's like, we both had kids, my kids are now out of college, but we all had 16-year-olds at one point that drove the car for the first time. And on the freeway, as a parent, you freak out. Oh my God, watch out. Don't change lanes, put your blinker on. So the comparison was, agents are like your 16-year-old driving the car for the first time on the freeway. You're nervous and they don't know what they're doing, but they know what they're doing. And then I said, it's like all 16-year-olds at the same time driving on the freeway that doesn't have any lines or roads, but there's a guardrail. So this brings up kind of the chaos and opportunity. So the metaphor is, okay, you don't know what's going to happen, it's weird, it's kind of chaotic. That's kind of where we're at. Do you agree we're there? And if so, what has to happen for some of these rules of engagement? Because if you take Prakash's notion of experience first, each agent is going to be driving all over the place. How do you frame that? How do you think about that? How would you do you agree or not? It's
that's an interesting concept you bring to me now. I mean, like I'm thinking differently now, okay? The reason I say that is, all 16-year-olds, no experience, okay? They're all on the road, and like the agent is trying to help them out. Okay, think about it like that, okay? And they're confused. This is humans confused. Agents think they know what they are doing. But the control is in the human hand. So who do you want to trust?
The human.
Okay, so that is where the concept is going to be. Now, this is where like the experiences of that individual, the kids, and the agents interaction is going to be more important. Okay, where do I trust? And that is what, like we talk about the confidence levels. Where is my confidence levels? Which one should I be going out? And that is what I would teach my kids, saying that, hey, if you're going there and this guy's confidence level is really high and you still think you are right, your confidence is different, let's talk about it. How do you want to handle these things?
And you can write an algorithm for that too.
Yes.
All right, so let's take that to the SOC, because they're not 16-year-olds, but they are dealing with a lot of things. This is where people are thinking about agents. So coming back to the practitioner, what is the best practice? What are some things you guys are seeing? Because we're seeing humans lean in with their craft, not some playbook. They got playbooks. They'll get automated away. They know some personalization, but the real value will be the human who knows what to do or has situational awareness, assuming they have agents handling the data at scale. What happens? What would you see as a best practice to implement the beginning phases of this?
I think the best place, I think we need to think about how the SOC operates, right? I mean, you have your tier 1, tier 2 analyst and more advanced level analyst to kind of look at some of these events. Where the technology is coming into play is humans have been doing a lot of reputational things to kind of get there, right? There's huge amounts of data. Now we are training these agents to, by their experience and by the history and the evidence, to make decisions based on historical amounts of data. It is readily available. So what it does is, it frees up their time to focus on the most, as you said, the most important things. So as agents are coming up with this alert triaging, the human is still in the loop to make the decision, right? In many cases, based on the historical evidence, agents can be automated, but at the same time, what we are saying is, this is now the collaboration between the machine and the human to help businesses to protect. And if obviously the attackers, the adversaries are leveraging AI, so the concept here is the good person should have better AI to protect against the threat. So it obviously machine and humans are in the loop and they're collaborating.
Prakash, you deal with a lot of clients and you advise and set the agenda for some of these directions. What would be your prioritization to effect change in an organization around thinking about agents, unifying data controls, because we're talking about data management at some different level. I like the way you're rethinking it. It's not data it's not data management in the classic sense of what
Yes.
we know. It's
Yep,
like
yep.
data control.
Yep.
I need to see everything.
Yeah. So this is where, like, if you look at it, even in our current environments, the journey starts with your data. I mean, like, if you look at it, 3 components I put it, okay? There is data, there is expertise, and there is the AI agent. If you look at it, this is the 3 components, that's it. I mean, like, so I start always with data.
Yeah.
Like, if you have bad data, none of
Bad
these
agent.
things are going to be helping you out.
Yeah.
Okay, now that means like right data at the right time and quality data. And then I need to have control over it. Whether you call it heterogeneous or homogeneous, like we'll talk about it, and like we say, like, what kind of function we are trying to get out of it. And that is the area we talk. And then also like protect that data in such a way, like, you're not looking for the PII. So that becomes an aspect. Then comes the expertise.
Yeah.
You cannot have a 1-year-old trying to teach these things now. Okay? I mean, like, but at the same time, I mean, like, you don't want to go overcomplicate it, like baby steps. Let's take one level at a time, and like, let's get it in, and then monetize that one before we jump into the most complex things. And this is where the agents, same thing, governance now. Like, everybody's talking about, before even writing anything, what if drift happens?
Yeah.
And this is where, like, we need to talk about, like, whole thing. What are the guardrails? When it comes to kids, we say like morals, principles, values. We teach them. Same thing here. Like, we have to teach these guys. What is those guardrails?
So the first principles of AI is needed. You have to lock that in.
Lock that in. Yes.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. I think I want to add on to it, right? I think ultimately, you asked like, what is the first step? I think to know what your data is, where your data is, what you are protecting. I think if you have a good visibility of what you are trying to protect, I think that's probably a good step to kind of take the next step around, how we take this technology for the benefit of the companies.
Well, Prakash, it's been a great conversation. I guess we'll end on a fun note. Share the coolest thing you're working on. Could be a customer situation, personal thing. We've all trying to build an agent. I got a news cycle agent. I'm trying to get all the do my job for me. We all have 10 jobs, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So, can we reduce one of our jobs? I mean, more stuff's come on the plate. What's some fun, cool things you're working on that you can point to?
Right now, the fun, cool things are changing day to day. I'm telling you that. Like, this was a couple of weeks ago. We have a great partnership with Google, and like we are working together on some of the agentic stuff. And like the way they were thinking about it, and how PwC was thinking at it, and bringing both the engineers together, we found a very different way of doing things. So like they were talking about like the job functions, which is like job agents, and then like service agents, and how do we want to connect these things? And then like all of a sudden, like, the whole Anthropic and like the MCP servers came out. Yeah. In the last 2 weeks, we have done what would have taken anywhere between 6 to 9 months, which we did it in the last 2 days, actually saying that, hey, we want to demo this one. So putting the engineers together and say, like, showing that this is the vision we want to go to, and those guys trying to make that all seamlessly work, and like showing that output was an interesting thing for me. And like also like putting the heads together, because like sometimes it's very theoretical, sometimes there is a very practical one. Putting those guys together was a very and the guys, the way they were working was interesting to see.
This has come up a lot. I like the way you said that, because this kind of crystallizes it. AI is a communal experience and innovation, because you make a decision to do something and then like 5 other random things happen, like the propensity and the serendipity around the human side of the collision.
Yeah.
Yes. We do a task, like, well, we could do 5 other things, because that's where I start. This is coming up a lot, actually. Yeah. We're in this discovery Cambrian explosion of mindset.
Yes. And like at the time, I mean, like, what it used to take like weeks, we do it in hours. And that is the big difference. And we see the results right there. And I'm like, okay, it's a very interesting time for us.
But no, it's an AI party. Everyone's getting together and partying with AI, right?
I love it.
I mean, this creates a spontaneous, but you're going down a thread, almost like the neural network of innovation by people collaborating.
Yes. Yeah, I think for me the fun part is I work with like number of customers and with partners to help our customers going through this exciting journey. And there are unique situations, almost unique situations, and dealing with them and helping them, I think is really fun. And
it's magical, actually. It really, I mean, I got to say, in my entire 30-year career in tech, in the enterprise and in cloud and everything else, I've never seen a moment where there was so much human, technical, magical computer science vibe going on. And they even got vibe coding now. I
Yes.
mean, have you seen
Yes.
vibe coding?
Yes.
I mean, how cool is that? Like, who watches TV anymore? Just a vibe code all day.
You don't have to code anymore.
Yeah. Guys, thank you
Yep.
so much. Been a pleasure.
Thank you,
Great
John.
conversation. Again, the real reality is that the computer science and the engineering and the art of craft in computer science and security is happening. The revolution is happening here in theCUBE, bringing you all the action. I'm John Furrier. Thanks for watching.